Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared, and things are getting very real very fast. Do you know what this is? This is the first time I've seen this. This is the actual altar that's going to be used for the burning of the red heifers. And I have some news about the red heifers. I got this email from Lucas Odom, Better Red Heifer Altar video. And surprisingly, this video is from CBS News. So up until this point, the only time that we've learned anything new about the red heifers, it's primarily been from Israel 365 and occasionally Jerusalem Post. They're pretty much the only ones that cover the red heifers as far as like the news media goes. But this one's from CBS News, and I would encourage you to watch this video. It's short. They go over many different aspects of this, like how Hamas, Hezbollah are not happy about this, and we've covered that before. And they give us a little bit of new information. I'm about to share that in just a minute. Also, if you're curious for more in-depth coverage of this, I've done many videos about the red heifers. So we've talked about all sorts of things. I've talked to Rabbi Gerfein about it. He's the rabbi that I talk to. He lives in Jerusalem. Talk to him once a month. So just do a search on my channel for red heifer and you can watch all these videos. Okay. So I'm not going to be able to cover every single thing right now, but if you want more, then just check out these videos. Okay. So before we get into it, let me give you a look at the Flood the Earth challenge. I still need to update it. Hasn't been updated for 2 videos, but we're at 8,330 copies of the Book of Mormon that have been shared, and we're trying to get to 10,000. So we're getting pretty close. And then 913 people that have joined, trying to get to 1,000. And the latest big update was 2 more people meeting with the missionaries, which brings us to a total of 134 since the challenge began. And our first 2 for the month of March. So good job, everybody. If you haven't joined already, I would encourage you encourage you to do so. It helps other people be motivated to share the Book of Mormon. All you have to do is share the Book of Mormon. Use the Gospel Library app. And when you go to Scriptures, there's a button that gives you a link for the Book of Mormon app. And then you can text it or email it or whatever. Let me know about it in the comments or send me an email. Please keep it short and make sure to include #flood to help me find your comment or your email. Okay, so Lucas Odom, and thank you, Lucas, for sending this. I'm so glad that you sent this. This is just from a few days ago. So he sent this link, and thankfully, we don't only have the YouTube video, but we also have a article that goes along with it by CBS News. What these red cows from Texas have to do with war and peace in the Middle East. Now, what I thought was kind of interesting is that this article came out on the 5th of March, the same day that the purchase of the Kirtland Temple was announced. So I don't know, but I just think that's a little bit interesting. Let me read you some of the highlights from this. Jerusalem. When Hamas spokesman Abu Abeda began a speech marking the 100th day of the war in Gaza, one confounding yet eye-opening proclamation escaped the headlines. Well, for some people. Listing the motives for the Palestinian militant group's October 7th massacre in Israel, he accused Jews of, quote-unquote, bringing red cows to the Holy Land. Now, I did a video about this. We covered this. They put this speech on X and other places, and I found out about this not too long after it happened. Did a video about it, and in this video where we covered it, I went over many other things beyond just the red heifers. I did kind of like a review of everything that the Jews have been doing to prepare for the third temple. So if you missed this one, you may want to go watch it. It gives a pretty good overview of all the different preparations that I'm aware of that the Jews have made for the third temple. And this was the first video where I introduced my spreadsheet. Let's see, where is it? It's this one. I'm keeping a spreadsheet of all the major developments whenever something significant happens. in for preparations for the third temple. I put it here, and I know I don't have everything, but it goes back to 1987 when the Temple Institute was established, and it includes all the different things, including by my count 4 altars. And these would be altars that would be used in the temple itself, not like what we just saw here. This, as far as I know, this would just be for the red heifers. But anyway, I would encourage you to watch this video to see all the stuff. It's pretty amazing, everything that's been taking place, and most of the world doesn't know about it. Okay, so back to the article. Well, actually, no, before we get back to the article, here are a few articles talking about Hamas and Hezbollah and how they've openly talked about the red heifers and how they view it as a problem because, you know, they're not dummies. They understand that there's a portion, there's like a part, there are some Jews that are really serious about reestablishing the third temple and in some kind of way removing the Dome of the Rock and potentially Al-Aqsa Mosque. And so they follow this just like we do. They want to know what their enemies are up to, and they know that the red heifers are a big deal. If you don't know about the red heifers, what has to happen is before you can engage in services of the temple in Judaism, you have to be pure. You have to be purified. And all Jews today are considered ritually impure. And so the only way to take care of that is getting the ashes of the red heifer. Now, we've looked at it from an LDS point of view, how the red heifer symbolizes Christ. And, you know, you can look at the Institute student manual for a deeper explanation of that. But for them, they need it in order to purify all Jews that come to the temple. And they've done a search for Kohanim, or priests, that are pure, or in other words, they haven't come in contact with dead bodies. They weren't born in hospitals. They haven't gone to cemeteries and other things. They've searched far and wide for these type of priests that could get things going, that would be pure already, so that they can burn the red heifer, and then after that, purify the rest of the priests and the rest of the Jewish nation. So anyway, so there are going to be, you know, enemies of Israel that are aware of these things because they also have eyes and they can read. And they know that this is a problem because once these ashes are produced, there's nothing from stopping the Jews at that point from performing temple services. And so the Muslims have had kind of like a little bit of relief. It's like, well, they can't, you know, they can't do anything right now anyway. They have to get these, they need to get these red heifers, you know, and that's going to be hard to do because the red heifers have to be perfectly red, and they haven't been able to do this in 2,000 years. So good luck. Well, luck has come their way, or maybe divine providence, and now they have the heifers. So Hamas has publicly said that they're upset about it, including in this video, as well as Hezbollah. In this article by the Jerusalem Post is talking about Hezbollah and how they're aware of it as well. Toward the end of the video, let me just give you a little taste. Okay, so this article is from August 1st of last year. So this is before even the war took off. Nasrallah's speech came shortly after a Palestinian terrorist shot and wounded 6 Israelis in the city of Ma'ale Adumim in the West Bank on Tuesday afternoon. Palestinian terrorist groups linked the attack to escalating tensions surrounding the Temple Mount and Al-Aqsa Mosque. You might remember last year was a pretty contentious year when it comes to the Temple Mount. Last year, Passover and Ramadan both overlapped. And as a result, there was more violence, and Israeli police actually went into Al-Aqsa Mosque, and they carried out arrests inside the mosque. Later on, there was a big rocket attack from Gaza, but that was before the actual war started. Okay, so anyway, on Tisha B'Av, National Security Minister Itmar Ben-Gvir sparked outrage from Palestinians and from leaders in the region after visiting the Temple Mount for the third time since he took office. And here he is again, Ben-Gvir. We've talked about him. He's kind of an agitator, a radical. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows that doing this upsets them. Okay, additionally, nearly 2,000 Jews visited the Temple Mount on Tisha B'Av this year. In addition, a report by N12 earlier this week noted that government funds were being used to help a project to breed red heifers that could be used for the ritual purification of those who have touched a dead body. The report sparked outrage in Palestinian media. And I guess I'll just cut it off there. So we have plenty of stories and articles showing that, they're very aware of the red heifers. And I just want to point out that I made the case in one of these videos that this may have been the last straw before they decided to carry out the October 7th attacks. Okay. Again, they brought it up in this speech for the 100th day of the war. They brought it up. So what do you think is going to happen once they successfully sacrifice these red heifers? And by the way, let's go to hebcal.com. It's probably going to take place during Ramadan. There's a good, well, maybe not. It's hard to know when it's going to take place. We've heard a few different things. The last time that we heard from these people that are actually going to do it, they were talking about Passover. But in this video that I'm sharing right now, he said any day. It could happen any day. So it may not even be Passover. I'll show you that in just a minute. So it could happen during Ramadan, but either way, we've done videos about Ramadan and how Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran are calling for everybody to descend on Jerusalem and the Temple Mount during Ramadan, and how it's probably going to be a very dangerous time. And Turkey has made threats about Israel restricting access to the Temple Mount based on age restrictions to try and reduce, chaos and tensions and violence. So this is going to be, I think that this is a powder keg. So we're going to go through Ramadan. If they sacrifice them during Ramadan, it's just going to make things even worse. But after we go through Ramadan and whatever happens there, even if they wait until afterwards, it's still going to be really bad, I think, whenever the news breaks. So let's go back to the article. The cows he was talking about are red heifers, which now graze at a secure, undisclosed location in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. Okay. Instrumental in bringing the heifers to the Holy Land was Yitzhak Mamo of Uvni, Israel, a group committed to seeing a new temple built in Jerusalem's old city. It's this guy right here. And he's the one, we watched that video with CBN News, that Christian news network, and he told them that it would be during Passover. So I don't know if that's still the case because he said something different here. Okay, quote, "You can check to see if they have any white or black hairs," he told CBS News, explaining that any hair that isn't red would disqualify the cows from fulfilling their prophesied role. Finding the red heifers took years. The quest led Mamo not to Jewish breeders, but to Christian ranchers thousands of miles away. Quote, "After a long search, we found them in Texas. Texas Red Angus," end quote. To bypass strict laws in place at the time that banned the export of U.S. cattle to Israel, the heifers were classified as pets, Mamo said with a laugh. But to those following biblical commandments, the cows are no laughing matter, he added, stressing that it was no publicity stunt. Yeah, they are dead serious about this. Okay. Later on in the article, a massive white altar awaits where they are to burn on a plot of land overlooking the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem, which I don't think that's quite right. It's supposed to be on the Mount of Olives. But anyway, Mamo said the ceremony must be performed looking directly into where the ancient second temple stood until it was destroyed by the Romans in the year 70 AD. So, yeah, This is the first time that I've seen this altar, and it is massive. Look how big that is. And I can't tell, but this guy right here, this looks like Baruch Kohen, the guy that they selected, that the Sanhedrin selected to be the high priest whenever they reconstruct the temple. So you can see, thankfully he's on the ramp, and you can get some scale as to how big this is. It's really big. I had no idea. In my mind, I didn't picture them having an altar like this for the red heifer. I don't know what I pictured, but not this. This is gigantic. Here's another view of it. And then here's another view going up the ramp. Now, in the past, we had covered other altars that they had constructed, but these altars were for the temple itself. So like I said, by my count on my spreadsheet, you have this first altar back in 2009, and then reports of a second altar in 2015, and then another one in 2018, and then another one December of 2021. So that's my count. So you have this one right here, which looks very basic. It's just like bricks and tiles, basically. Here's another view of it. This is at the Temple Institute Museum. And then you had a much larger one. You can see right here. In fact, the Jerusalem Post took note of it, and you can see it's pretty big. But this is not as big as this one for the red heifer. One for the red heifer is gigantic. Okay, so back to Israel 365. So they have a bunch of pictures. There's Baruch Kohen. He would be the high priest. And, they did a reenactment, and there's a fire right there on top. So, okay, so they're really, really serious about this. Back to the article. Okay, today, heavily armed guards ensure that only Muslims are allowed inside the complex, but that hasn't stopped Jewish activists like Melissa Jane Kronfeld from leading groups up the Temple Mount 5 days every week. That's a little misleading too. It's not just Muslims that go up there. You have to be part of a tour to go up there if you're not a Muslim, but if that's what you mean, CBS. Okay, so anyway, this lady right here, Melissa Jane Kronfeld, quote, "It's so important for the Jews to return and rebuild the temple," said New York native Kronfeld, who founded the High on the Har organization to lead the tours. Continuing, she says, "It's not about taking anything from our Muslim brothers and sisters. It's not about the destruction of Islamic holy sites. It's about preserving this place and being guardians over the house of God for all people." End quote. But she makes no secret about what she wants to happen to the Dome of the Rock. Quote, "I believe it's going to go 100%. The whole thing is going to go to build the temple," she said, insisting that the shrine and its golden dome should be preserved but relocated. It's a suggestion that many fear, if acted upon, could make the current war even bloodier. You think that might happen? And see it spread rapidly beyond the Gaza Strip. And then this is her again. Quote, Everyone says that the building, the third temple, is what will bring the war. It would destabilize the Middle East," she said. "The Middle East seems pretty destabilized right now, and the war, if I'm not mistaken, is already here." If there ever was a war that was going to change the status quo, I think it'd be this one. We're still in the very beginning of the war from my point of view. I think it's going to escalate. I think the next big phase starts with Ramadan. And I really think there's a possibility that it could be the siege of Jerusalem. But in any case, you have that, but you also have the war that's inevitably going to start with Hezbollah, and that's going to be much more violent, and there's going to be a lot more terror from that one. Hezbollah has many, 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 many more rockets, and they have more manpower. It's going to be really bad. So, okay, now skipping down. While most Muslims do not support Hamas violence, they do share its unwavering devotion to sacred ground, says Mustafa Abu Sway, the Imam al-Ghazali chair at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Quote, Al-Aqsa Mosque belongs to all Muslims. So you will find reactions from Indonesia to Toronto to New York. Today, there are 2 billion Muslims worldwide. So think about this really quick before I continue. if somehow something does happen to the Temple Mount, and I personally think that there are people in the government that are trying to do this, namely Ben-Gvir and those that are aligned with him. I think that they want this war, and I think that they want it to be so big that it will cause a change on the Temple Mount. That's my own personal belief, just, what I've witnessed from him and others. I think that's what they want. I really do. Anyway, continuing, he told CBS News that removing Al-Aqsa or the Dome of the Rock was, quote unquote, unimaginable, and warned that it would be, quote, opening a Pandora's box that nobody can close. Yeah, definitely with 2 billion Muslims worldwide, that might be a problem. Okay, later on, talks about evangelicals, and then it says, back at his settlement in the West Bank, Mamo, again, Mamo is this guy right here. I don't know if he's a rabbi. I can't remember. But he's with Uvne Jerusalem, which is one of these temple groups. So this guy right here, this is him talking. He says, okay, back at his settlement in the West Bank, Mamo told CBS News the Heifers need only pass a final purity test. The ceremony that he hopes will resurrect the temple and usher in the Messiah could take place any day. Now, look, I've already done a video. I've done a couple videos about, we've been trying to figure out, well, is there like a certain day that they have to do it, that it's supposed to be done? We've looked at Shabbat Para, which is one of the special Sabbaths. And from what I can tell, it's meant to be a Sabbath where when you go to synagogue, it's meant to remind you that when you go to Jerusalem, you need to make sure that you, I guess, get purified by the ashes as you're going up to Jerusalem for Passover. So you have this special Sabbath just a couple weeks before Passover. And then on the 2nd of Nisan in the Bible, according to Bible chronology, that's when the first red heifer was sacrificed. And so we were looking at this as a potential date that it would happen if it has to be on the same day of the Hebrew year. But then the CBN News video that we watched, this guy Mamo said that it would be during Passover. And now the latest in this CBS News article is that it could happen any day. Now, I don't know if that means literally it could happen any day, but he said they only need to pass a final purity test. Remember, there's supposed to be a certain age, and I put together this spreadsheet where I have a few different sources of information. I have this article right here from Israel 365. I have this one right here. This is a video from the Israel guys where they were interviewing somebody that was familiar with the situation. And then there was another Israel 365 article. And they all seem to identify different groups or batches or individual heifers. So based on these articles, I put together this spreadsheet, and they should all be ready right now, except for potentially one or two that are going to turn 2 years old in a day in April. So, but some of the other ones, based on what they said in these articles and videos, there should already be a few that are already of age. And so when he says that it could happen any day, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what to expect. I guess I'm still looking to Passover because that's what he said in the other video, but unless there's so if Passover is Jewish law that it has to be during Passover, then that's just going to be it. But if there's not anything that specifies when it has to happen, then maybe it could take place any day. So this is going to be something to look for. I'm telling you right now, this is going to take things to a whole new level. When this news comes out, they haven't even done it yet. All they did was they shipped red heifers to Israel, and it got on the radar of people like this, Hamas and Hezbollah and others. Of course, there's going to be other enemies of Israel that are watching this. Iran, I'm sure. It's not a secret. And I really think that it was the last straw. I did a video why I thought that, based on what he said and others. I think it was the last straw. The timing of the war seems to coincide with the time frame when these heifers would be turning 2 years old. Look at this right here. The first one, like the first one or ones, would have turned 2 years old in September. And then the next month, that's when the war started. The war started as these heifers were turning 2 years old. I don't think that's coincidence. So imagine what's going to happen once they successfully get the ashes. And if it's during Ramadan or after Ramadan, like Ramadan's going to take it to a new level by itself, but this is going to like amplify it even more, in my opinion. We'll have to wait and see. But oh my goodness, holy cow, right? No pun intended. This is just, like I said, things are getting really real, really fast. You know, I've been aware of the red heifers. I don't know how long, maybe even before I started my channel in August of 2021. And this is another one of those things like the Kirtland Temple, where it's like, you know, it's going to eventually happen someday, but it just feels like it's so far off, and it almost even seems like improbable. But then one day it's here. And I feel like we are basically at that point. And just the fact that you have CBS News that is covering it, they must realize the implications of it. You know, they're not ones to cover the same things that Israel 365 does. Israel 365 is basically an organization that, like, they're a news company, but they also have like these programs to do, like, to build bridges with Christians and get support for Israel. You know, I'm associated with them as far as like I promote their charities. You know, they've asked me if I would support some of their charities, and so I have links for those charities in the description box below, so you can check that out. But one thing that they do is they provide this kind of news, and some of the things that they cover, you'll only find it on Israel 365. And so to see something like this outside of Israel 365 and the Jerusalem Post, to see it with CBS News, that, like I said, that blows me away. And I feel like that, where'd it go? Let's just look at this one. I feel like that indicates that they understand the implications of these ashes, you know? So, oh yeah, there's also CBN. They've covered the red heifer too, that Christian network. So, but for CBS to do it, yeah, I think they realize. So, we'll just end it there. Let me make sure there wasn't anything else I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So you guys, things are really coming together right now in March and April. So many things. I don't think I've seen so many things happening at the same time. The Kirtland Temple just came out of nowhere, but we have the red heifers. We have this year's Ramadan, which is going to be unlike previous years, I believe. Let's look at one last thing. Remember, we have this spreadsheet called, let's see, Prophets, President Nelson. Yeah, President Nelson. I should name it something else, but we have all these things pointing to right now. Right now, President Nelson is in his 7th year as president of the church. Again, just look at the screen if this confuses you. His first year started January of 2018. 2018 was his first year. 2019 was his second year. Okay. 3, 4, 5. Right now, now that we're past January 14th of this year, he is in his 7th year as president of the church. That's a special number. He is in his 100th year of life, and he's going to turn 100 years old in September. As of right now, he's given 40 talks as president of the church, not including the Hosanna shout instructions, and 111 talks as an apostle. He's going to reach his 40th anniversary as an apostle during General Conference on Sunday. It's been 5 years. Well, the April General Conference this year will be 5 years since he said that time is running out. We have the eclipse that's happening the day after conference. And we're at solar maximum right now, or they think that we're basically getting to that point. So all these things, they don't really apply so much to later this year. Well, I guess they not so much, because like with timers running out, it's going to be 5 years in April, not October. The 5-year mark is April of this year. And the talks, 40 talks, 111 talks, that's going to change after this general conference. Same thing with his anniversary. His anniversary is, so all these things are like pointing to basically April. Okay. And then we have the red heifers on top of that, in Ramadan, and the Kirtland Temple, and just so many things. And then let's remember this: President Nelson is doing his sevens, where on his social media so far for 6 months in a row, he'll do a Facebook post or a social media post and repeat words or phrases 7 times. In September, it was the Book of Mormon. October, Think Celestial. November, Prayers. December, Titles of Christ. January, Marvel. And February, Love. And we're still waiting for the one, if he continues it, the 7th month in a row is going to be this month. Almost as though he's pointing to this month, or pointing to next month, to April. So it's a lot. It's a lot. So let's watch. We'll see what happens. Okay, that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. Like this video if you liked it. Leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.